most treasured historic sites, and now students across the state can help preserve it. History Heroes is a new statewide campaign inviting students, families, and schools to raise money for the Remember the Alamo Foundation. Students who participate will receive fun rewards based on their fundraising progress. Wristbands, Alamo bandanas, collectible pins, even a Texas flag flown over the Alamo. Top student fundraisers will win an all-expenses-paid VIP trip to San Antonio. Schools can win up to $25,000. Sign up now to become a history hero at thealamo.org/heroes.
Like, where do they think, or how do they think we're watching it?
Hmm.
Was that it?
No. Yeah, now it's history.
Oh, no.
In the heart of San Antonio, Texas, in an old Spanish mission, sits an icon recognized throughout the world, called the Alamo.
To listen. So
Indigenous tribes have long inhabited the vast expanses of the American Southwest, but a great change is coming. In 1718, in what is now San Antonio, an elderly Spanish missionary named Father Antonio de San Buenaventura y Olivares establishes a Spanish mission on a stretch of land with ample water. He calls it San Antonio de Valero. There, he establishes a self-contained village, providing food and shelter for the natives, and stocking horses and firearms for defense against raiding Comanches and Apaches. Activity at the mission lasts for more than 70 years. By 1793, the population has dramatically declined, and the need for Valero has ended. Soon after, it sits in disrepair with few occupants, but given its strategic location, it will not stay this way for long. Across the river from the former mission, the town of San Antonio de Bejar is growing and evolving into a commercial center that sits on one of the main routes to the east. The old mission is perfectly situated to protect this important crossroads and is converted into a fortified military outpost. In 1803, a Spanish cavalry unit is stationed there. They come from a town south of the Rio Grande called Alamo de Parras. What started as a mission is now a military outpost called the Alamo. The soldiers have come here to guard against a new threat, the westward expansion of the United States. The political map of North America is changing. In 1821, Mexico wins independence from Spain, and a new flag flies over the Alamo. Despite previous efforts to populate Texas, the region has only 3 stable communities: San Antonio, Goliad, and Nacogdoches. The Mexican government authorizes land agents called empresarios to bring in immigrants from the United States. The most successful empresario is Stephen F. Austin. New settlers pour into Texas, lured by the promise of large land grants. Within a mere 5 years, the population grows from about 3,000 to more than 30,000. Soon, 2 populations emerge in Texas: native-born Mexican Texans called Tejanos, and naturalized American Texans called Texians. But an ongoing fight between 2 Mexican political factions will soon test the loyalty of both Texians and Tejanos to Mexico. In 1824, Mexico adopts a new federalist constitution that allows states to share power with the national government. Texas favors this constitution because it grants them a greater degree of autonomy. But in 1834, the president of Mexico, Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, rejects power sharing and imposes a new centralist constitution. Stripping Texas and other regions of power, Federalists throughout Mexico rebel against this decision and demand a return to the federal Constitution of 1824. But Santa Anna, calling calling himself the Napoleon of the West, moves quickly and forcefully to crack down on the uprising. What started as a skirmish has become a rebellion focused on issues of sovereignty, slavery, and the rights of citizens. Under a new decree to seize armaments in the rebelling provinces, the Alamo Company is ordered to retrieve a government cannon loaned to the nearby town of Gonzales for protection against raiding Indians. The colonists fight back. On October 2nd, 1835, instead of returning the cannon, they fire it on the Mexican soldiers, taunting, "Come and take it." This becomes the first battle cry of the Texas Revolution, a rebellion that changes the course of history. With orders not to engage in battle, the Alamo Company returns to San Antonio without the cannon. Emboldened by their success, the rebels follow them. The town and the Alamo garrison are vital for controlling access to Texas. In December 1835, after a bloody 5-day battle, the Mexican general Martin Prefecto de Cos surrenders San Antonio de Bejar and heads to the Rio Grande with his soldiers. A month later, in January 1836, the Texans receive word that President Santa Anna himself is on his way with about 6,000 troops to put down the rebellion. On February 23rd, a lookout sees Santa Anna arriving with the first of his massive army and rings a church bell to sound the alarm. The rebels, amounting to about 150 men, including lawyers, doctors, and farmers, along with their families, flee the town and gather inside the walls of the Alamo, hoping for protection from the impending battle. Among them is David Crockett, a former congressman and famous frontiersman from Tennessee who arrived just days earlier. Crockett lost his seat in the U.S. Congress and, like many of the rebels, came to Texas with hopes of acquiring land, building wealth, and gaining political power in this land of both danger and opportunity. Santa Anna orders his men to raise a red flag at a nearby church within sight of the Alamo. It has a clear meaning. He will show no mercy. The rebels send back a message of their own. They will stand and fight. One of the two rebel commanders is James Bowie, a land speculator and legendary knife fighter who married into one of the most powerful Mexican families in Bejar. Bowie is famous already for the knife that bears his family's name.
Attention, company! Shoulder, guard!
The other commander is South Carolinian William B. Travis,
Present arms!
a 26-year-old lawyer and cavalry officer known to be a natural leader.
Colonel Travis, company is pulling for parade.
Thank you, sir.
Bowie and Travis agree to joint command, but in a twist of fate, Bowie falls gravely ill and is confined to his bed. Travis now has full command. Outnumbered and surrounded by thousands of Mexican soldiers, the rebels desperately hope they'll be able to hold off Santa Anna until reinforcements arrive. Soon after the siege begins, Travis writes a series of letters, desperate pleas for reinforcements. One is addressed to the people of Texas and all Americans in the world. He signs it, "Victory or Death." Couriers, risking their lives, slip past Mexican lines and deliver letters to Texan colonists in nearby Gonzales and Goliad and more settlements to the east. Soon, Texans everywhere know of Travis's desperate stand at the Alamo. Troops rush to assemble, but are unable to arrive in time. In Goliad, troops head to the Alamo, only to turn back when they learn that another Mexican column is coming for Goliad too. Eventually, 32 men from the town of Gonzales, 75 miles away, arrive at the Alamo on March 1st, 1836. 8 days into the siege. But even with these new men, the defenders of the Alamo only total about 200. The siege lasts almost 2 weeks. And in that time, Santa Anna cuts off all access in and out of the Alamo. In the early hours of Sunday, March 6, 1836, the defenders are fast asleep. For the first time in 12 nights, there's no cannon fire. The silence is a tactic. Santa Anna is planning a surprise attack. But the strategic silence is broken by his own men, when Mexican soldiers, unable to contain their enthusiasm, begin to shout. The rebels rush the walls and fire into the darkness, manning their stations.
Come on, boys, let's give him here!
On the north wall, Travis is one of the first defenders to die, with a single gunshot to the head. As Santa Anna's forces push in, many of the rebels fall back to the Long Barrack, then to the church. Some defenders make it outside the walls, but one by one, they are cut down in bloody hand-to-hand combat. Bowie dies in his sickbed, bayoneted by Mexican soldiers. The battle only lasts about 90 minutes. True to his word, Santa Anna shows no mercy. He executes all surviving defenders, but spares the women, children, and Travis's slave Joe, who he allows to leave unharmed to tell the story of what happened. Crockett too dies in the battle, although accounts differ on what happened. One eyewitness states that he is captured alive and then executed, while Joe later recounts that Crockett died fighting like a tiger. Some 500 Mexican soldiers are killed or wounded, compared to the 200 or so rebels who lose their lives. Santa Anna denies the defenders a proper burial. He scorns them as pirates and orders the bodies burned. What the defenders of the Alamo didn't know is that during the siege, a convention gathered at Washington on the Brazos had officially declared Texas's independence from Mexico. At the head of Texas's military forces is Major General Sam Houston, a former governor of Tennessee and protege of Andrew Jackson. Houston arrives at Gonzales on March 11th to find 350 men gathered there, ready to march to the Alamo's aid. But they are too late. Wanting to stay ahead of the Mexican advance, Houston withdraws eastward. Terrified civilians, afraid of being left behind, follow in his wake in what is known as the Runaway Scrape. On April 21st, 1836, Houston turns and engages Santa Anna at his encampment on the San Jacinto River. As they charge into battle, Houston cries out the words that still resonate today: "Remember the Alamo." Houston's army kills more than 600 Mexican troops and captures Santa Anna himself. Astonishingly, only 9 Texans died. The captured President General is forced to recognize the Republic of Texas in exchange for his life. The Republic of Texas is born. In 1845, after 10 years as an independent nation, Texas joins the United States, and the U.S. Army occupies the Alamo. The Long Barrack is converted into a storage depot for military supplies at the start of the Mexican War. After the war's end by 1850, the U.S. Army uses the church as a warehouse, and the Alamo becomes a vital Army hub. A roof is added to the church, along with a bell-shaped gable to the top, giving the Alamo its iconic facade. In 1877, the Army moves to new, larger quarters. This is the last time the Alamo is used as a military outpost. But it's not abandoned for long. As the railroad expands across Texas, San Antonio grows as well. Soon, the city expands over the river towards the Alamo, and the property becomes valuable for development. A French businessman named Honoré Grenet buys the Long Barrack and converts it into a garish warehouse and general store. And 12 years later, in 1883, the state of Texas purchases the church, which is to be maintained as a shrine to the men who defended the Alamo in 1836. The rest of the Alamo remains in private hands. As the 20th century approaches, instead of offering protection, it is the Alamo itself that needs to be protected. In 1903, when a developer wants to demolish the Long Barrack to make way for a hotel,
Hotel.
Adina de Zavala, the granddaughter of the first vice president of the Republic of Texas, and Clara Driscoll, whose grandfather was a veteran of the Battle of San Jacinto, begin a public campaign to save what remains of the historic building. Driscoll advances $65,000 to buy the Long Barrack on behalf of the Daughters of the Republic of Texas. In 1905, the Texas legislature reimburses Driscoll and designates the Daughters of the Republic of Texas as custodians of the Long Barrack and Church, ensuring the Alamo's survival as a shrine to Texas liberty. In 2011, the Texas General Land Office becomes custodian of the Alamo to ensure that this sacred site is here for the next generation of visitors. Remember the Alamo, once a rallying cry in battle, still lives on today. But why? For many, it's because the Alamo stands as a testament to the fight against tyranny. It is a monument to human courage. It is the cradle of Texas liberty. And after withstanding 300 years at the crossroads of culture, faith, and power, the Alamo has come to represent the independent spirit of Texas itself.